My entitled sister crashed my job interview and demanded I leave. The notification sound from my laptop made my heart skip. Asterisk Microsoft Teams meeting starting in 2 minutes star. I smoothed down my button-up shirt one last time and checked my hair in the black screen. After 4 months of unemployment since graduating, this interview with Morrison and Associates was literally my last shot before I'd have to pack up my studio apartment and move back in with mom and dad. Okay, Sarah, you've got this, I whispered to myself, clicking the meeting link at exactly 2 p.m. Good afternoon, Sarah. I'm Janet Morrison, CEO of Morrison and Associates. The woman on screen had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and I felt some of my nervousness ease. I have to say, your portfolio really impressed us. That campaign you created for your senior capstone project showed real creativity. Thank you so much, Ms. Morrison. I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity to. Bang bang bang. The sound of someone pounding on my door echoed through my tiny apartment. I forced a smile, trying to ignore it. Sorry about that. As I was saying, I've been following Morrison and Associates for years, and your approach to integrated marketing campaigns really aligns with. Bang 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 bang. Sarah. I know you're in there. My blood turned to ice. That voice belonged to my older sister Emma, and she was using her "I'm about to make this everyone else's problem" tone. I apologize, Ms. Morrison. Could you give me just one moment? I muted myself and rushed to the door, unlocking it just enough to poke my head out. Emma, what are you doing here? I'm in the middle of my interview, the one I told you about 3 times this week. My 27-year-old sister stood in the hallway wearing yoga pants and an oversized hoodie, her blonde hair thrown up in a messy bun. I need you to help me move my new dresser upstairs. Marcus bailed on me, and I can't do it alone. Are you insane? I literally just started my interview. Can't this wait 2 hours? Emma pushed past me into my apartment. Family comes first, Sarah. Besides, it's just some entry-level marketing thing, right? You can reschedule. Entry-level? I hissed, trying to keep my voice down. Emma, this is Morrison and Associates. They're one of the top marketing firms in the city, and this position pays $58,000 starting. I've been unemployed for 4 months. She rolled her eyes. Oh please, you're being dramatic. Just tell them you have a family emergency. Through my laptop speakers, I could hear Ms. Morrison clearing her throat. Sarah. Is everything all right? I rushed back to my desk, Emma following right behind me. I'm so sorry, Ms. Morrison. There's been a small interruption, but I'm ready to continue. Actually, is that your sister? Emma suddenly appeared in frame, waving at my laptop screen. Hi. I'm Emma, Sarah's older sister. Listen, I really need to borrow her for like an hour. Family emergency, you know how it is. The look of confusion on Ms. Morrison's face made my stomach drop to my feet. Well, I suppose we could. See? Emma turned to me triumphantly. She totally understands. Come on, let's go. Emma, get out. I snapped, my professional composure finally cracking. I am not helping you move furniture in the middle of the most important interview of my life. But my sister had already made herself comfortable on my couch, clearly with no intention of leaving. The situation spiraled from bad to worse as Emma kicked off her shoes and propped her feet up on my coffee table like she owned the place. Ms. Morrison's professional smile was starting to look strained, and I could see her glancing at something off-screen, probably her schedule for the next interview. Emma, I'm begging you, I whispered harshly, stepping away from my laptop. Please just leave. I'll help you move the dresser tonight, I promise. Tonight won't work. I'm having dinner with my new coworkers. She examined her nails with infuriating casualness. Did I mention I just started at Blackstone Marketing last week? They're paying me $72,000 to start, plus benefits. Not bad for someone who peaked in high school, right? My jaw dropped. Blackstone Marketing was Morrison and Associates' biggest competitor, and they'd rejected my application 2 months ago without even an interview. How did you possibly get a job at Blackstone? You majored in communications and worked retail for 3 years. Emma's smug smile made my skin crawl. I may have enhanced my resume a little. Added some freelance marketing experience, claimed I managed social media for a few local businesses. It's not lying, it's strategic presentation. That's literally fraud, Emma. It's called being smart, unlike you sitting here begging for scraps. She gestured toward my laptop where Ms. Morrison was still waiting patiently. Seriously, Sarah, you're interviewing for what, $50,000? I'm already making more than that, and I've been there 5 days. It's $58,000, I said through gritted teeth, and this is my dream job. I've wanted to work at Morrison and Associates since sophomore year. Sarah. Ms. Morrison's voice cut through our argument. I don't want to interrupt, but I do have another interview scheduled at 2:45. Perhaps we should reschedule when you're not dealing with your family situation. The dismissive tone in her voice made my heart sink. This was it, I was losing the opportunity I'd worked 4 years for because my sister couldn't wait 2 hours to move furniture. Ms. Morrison, please, I can explain. Oh, don't reschedule on my account. Emma suddenly perked up, addressing my laptop screen directly. I actually know all about Morrison and Associates. We study you guys at Blackstone, you know, competitive analysis and all that. Sarah's told me so much about wanting to work there, it's really sweet how much she admires your company. I watched in horror as Ms. Morrison's eyebrows rose slightly. The way Emma said, admires your company, made it sound patronizing, like I was some starstruck kid instead of a qualified candidate. That's nice to hear, Ms. Morrison replied carefully. Sarah, your resume shows excellent academic performance and some impressive project work. But I have to say, this situation is quite unprofessional. Emma finished helpfully. Yeah, Sarah's always been a little scattered with time management. Even in college, she'd call me crying about deadlines she forgot about. But hey, that's what big sisters are for, right? Every word out of Emma's mouth was destroying my credibility. Ms. Morrison's expression had shifted from patient to concerned, and I could practically see her mentally crossing my name off the candidate list. I think perhaps we should continue this conversation at another time, Ms. Morrison said diplomatically. Sarah, please have your assistant reach out to reschedule. Assistant? I didn't have an assistant. I was unemployed and living in a studio apartment with furniture from Target. The call ended with a polite click, leaving me staring at a blank screen while Emma stretched luxuriously on my couch. So, she said brightly, ready to help me with that dresser? I stared at my sister in complete disbelief, my hands trembling with rage. Get out. Get out. Wow, dramatic much. Emma stood up slowly, making a big show of stretching. Fine, I'll move the dresser myself and probably throw out my back. But don't come crying to me when you need a reference for your next interview. Oh wait, with my new position at Blackstone, I might actually be able to help you get an interview there. You know, put in a good word with my manager, Derek Chin. Derek Chin. I knew that name. He'd been the one to send my rejection email back in September, the curt two-line response that hadn't even mentioned keeping my resume on file for future opportunities. You know what, Emma? I said, my voice deadly quiet. I wouldn't work at Blackstone if it was the last marketing firm on earth. Your loss. Anyway, I really do need help with. No. I walked to my door and held it open. Absolutely not. You just destroyed the most important interview of my life. The least you can do is leave me alone to figure out how to fix this mess. Emma rolled her eyes but finally headed toward the door. You're being ridiculous. It's just one job, Sarah. There are plenty of other marketing companies. Not like Morrison and Associates, I said. And definitely not ones willing to take a chance on someone with zero professional experience. See, that's your problem right there, you sell yourself short. She paused in my doorway, and I could see the familiar gleam in her eyes that meant she was about to say something particularly cruel. Maybe if you had more confidence, you wouldn't need to rely on dream jobs to validate your existence. I mean, I walked into Blackstone and convinced them to hire me in one interview. It's all about knowing how to present yourself. You mean lying about your qualifications? I prefer strategic storytelling. Emma pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a sleek office space with floor-to-ceiling windows. This is my new office. Well, technically it's a shared workspace, but still. Pretty nice for someone who supposedly enhanced her resume, don't you think? The photo made my stomach twist with envy. Those were the kinds of offices I dreamed about working in, the kind Morrison and Associates had. Modern, professional, successful. How did you even know I had an interview today? I asked suddenly. Emma's smile faltered for just a second. You told me. Remember? At Mom's birthday dinner last Sunday. I specifically didn't tell you the time because I knew you'd find a way to interfere. The pieces were starting to click together in my mind. And how did you know it was with Janet Morrison personally? I never mentioned that detail to anyone. Lucky guess. Emma was backing into the hallway now, clearly wanting to escape before I could press her further. No, Emma. How did you know? She sighed dramatically. Fine, I may have seen the calendar notification on your phone when you went to the bathroom at dinner. Big deal. I was just curious about my little sister's big opportunity. You planned this. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. You deliberately came here during my interview to sabotage it. That's paranoid, even for you, Sarah. But I could see the truth in her eyes, the same look she'd had in high school when she'd accidentally told my crush about my embarrassing diary entries, or when she'd volunteered to help me with my college applications only to submit them 3 days after the deadline. Why? I whispered. Why would you do this to me? Emma's mask finally slipped, and for a moment I saw something ugly underneath. Because you think you're so much better than me with your fancy degree and your dream job interviews. Well, guess what? I'm the one with the career now. I'm the successful sister. The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone in my ruined apartment with the echoes of Ms. Morrison's disappointed voice still ringing in my ears. I spent the next hour pacing my apartment like a caged animal, replaying every excruciating moment of that disaster. The way Ms. Morrison's face had changed when Emma called me scattered. The dismissive tone when she mentioned rescheduling. The fact that she'd assumed I had an assistant when I was clearly just some unemployed graduate living in a glorified closet. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, asterisk, how did the interview go, honey? Keeping my fingers crossed, asterisk. I stared at the message, unable to bring myself to type the truth. Instead, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been avoiding for months. I checked my bank account. $847.32. Rent was due in 12 days, and that would leave me with exactly $297 to survive on until, when? When would there be another opportunity like Morrison and Associates? That's when I remembered Emma's casual mention of Derek Chin. I pulled up my rejection email from Blackstone Marketing, dated September 15th, asterisk, thank you for your interest in Blackstone Marketing. After careful consideration, we've decided to move forward with other candidates who more closely match our current needs. Best of luck in your job search. Derek Chin, Senior Hiring Manager, asterisk. 2 lines. Not even a form letter. But Emma had somehow charmed her way into a $72,000 position with the same man who couldn't be bothered to send me a proper rejection. The same Emma who'd worked at HomeGoods for 3 years and whose idea of marketing strategy was posting Instagram stories about her Starbucks order. I found myself Googling Emma Sullivan Blackstone Marketing before I could stop myself. Her LinkedIn profile popped up immediately, and my jaw dropped as I scrolled through her work history. Asterisk Marketing Coordinator, Riverside Community Center, 2019 to 2022 managed comprehensive social media campaigns, increasing community engagement by 340%. Developed and executed integrated marketing strategies for multiple fundraising initiatives, asterisk. Asterisk Freelance Digital Marketing Consultant, 2020 to 2023 provided strategic marketing consulting for 15+ local businesses. Specialized in brand development, content creation, and customer acquisition strategies, asterisk. Bachelor of Science in Marketing, State University, 2018. Every single line was a lie. Emma had majored in communications with a focus on public relations, not marketing. She'd never worked at the Riverside Community Center, she'd volunteered there exactly twice for Mom's church fundraiser. And the 15 plus local businesses she'd consulted for. I bet my remaining $847 that was complete fiction. But the degree change was the most brazen lie of all. I pulled up State University's directory and searched for Emma Sullivan in their marketing program. Nothing. Because she'd never taken a single marketing class in her life. My phone rang, interrupting my investigation. Unknown number. Hello. Hi Sarah, this is Janet Morrison calling. My heart stopped. Ms. Morrison. I'm so sorry about earlier, I can completely explain. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Her voice was kind but professional. I wanted to give you an opportunity to address what happened during our interview. That situation with your sister was quite unusual. I closed my eyes, trying to find the right words. Ms. Morrison, I am mortified by what happened today. My sister has a pattern of creating drama, and she specifically chose to interrupt my interview because she knew how important this opportunity was to me. I take full responsibility for not managing the situation better. I appreciate your honesty, Sarah. Can I ask, did you know your sister works at Blackstone Marketing? The question caught me off guard. She mentioned it today, but I had no idea until she told me. Why do you ask? There was a pause. Well, it's probably nothing, but we received some interesting information about Morrison and Associates' interview process earlier this week. Someone claiming to have inside knowledge about our upcoming marketing campaigns. We traced the inquiry back to a Blackstone email address. My blood ran cold. What kind of information? Details about the Riverside Community Center account we're bidding on. Very specific details that weren't public knowledge. Ms. Morrison's voice had taken on a sharper edge. The email came from an Emma Sullivan. Emma. The same Emma who just lied about working at Riverside Community Center on her LinkedIn profile. The same Emma who'd somehow known exactly when my interview was scheduled and who I was meeting with. Ms. Morrison, I said carefully, I think there might be more to this situation than either of us realized. The pieces were clicking together in my mind like a horrifying puzzle. Ms. Morrison, when exactly did you receive that email from Emma? Let me check. It was sent last Tuesday at 3:47 p.m. from e.sullivan@blackstonemarketing.com. She claimed to be conducting competitive research and wanted to know if we'd be presenting any innovative community outreach strategies for the Riverside account. Last Tuesday. The day after Mom's birthday dinner, where I'd mentioned, in front of Emma, that Morrison and Associates was one of 3 firms competing for a major community center contract. I'd been so excited about the interview that I'd rambled about everything I'd researched, including the Riverside project. Ms. Morrison, I need to tell you something important. My sister has been systematically lying about her qualifications at Blackstone. She never worked at Riverside Community Center, and she definitely doesn't have a marketing degree. I think she's been using information I shared with her to make herself look valuable to her new employer. That's quite an accusation, Sarah. I can prove it. I was already pulling up Emma's LinkedIn again. She claims on her professional profile that she managed social media campaigns for Riverside Community Center from 2019 to 2022, increasing engagement by 340%. But I have photos of the 2 times she actually volunteered there, both in 2021 for my mom's church bake sale. She spent most of both days complaining about the Wi-Fi. There was a long pause. Sarah, I have to ask, why are you telling me this? The question hit me like a slap. Was I really so desperate to salvage my interview that I'd throw my own sister under the bus? Or was this about something deeper, years of Emma taking credit for my achievements, sabotaging my opportunities, and now literally stealing information to advance her own career? Because what she did today wasn't just about moving furniture, I said finally. She deliberately sabotaged my interview after pumping me for information she could use at her own job. And if she's feeding Blackstone details about Morrison and Associates' client strategies, that's corporate espionage. Corporate espionage is a strong term. So is fraud, but that's exactly what her resume is. I took a deep breath. Ms. Morrison, I understand if you can't consider me for this position after what happened today. But Emma is actively working against your company using information she got from me. Someone needs to know. Another pause, longer this time. I could hear typing in the background. Sarah, I'm looking at the metadata on that email Emma sent. It was accessed and forwarded to 3 other Blackstone employees, including their CEO Marcus Webb. If your sister really doesn't have the background she claims, this could be a much bigger problem than one disrupted interview. Marcus Webb. Where had I heard that name before? Then it hit me, Marcus was the guy Emma said had bailed on helping her move the dresser. Marcus wasn't some random friend, he was her boss. And if Emma had been feeding him insider information about Morrison and Associates. Ms. Morrison, I think Emma's been positioning herself as some kind of intelligence asset at Blackstone. She told me she's making $72,000 as a new hire, which seemed impossible for someone with her background. But if she convinced them she has insider access to your company's strategies. Jesus, Ms. Morrison muttered. Sarah, I need to ask a huge favor. Would you be willing to document everything your sister has told you about her work at Blackstone? Dates, specific claims, any details about how she's been gathering information. My hands were shaking as I opened a new document. Of course. But Ms. Morrison, I need you to know, I didn't plan any of this. I had no idea Emma was using information I shared to harm your company. I believe you, Sarah. In fact, your willingness to come forward despite the personal cost tells me a lot about your character. The question now is, are you prepared for what might happen when we expose your sister's lies? I thought about Emma's smug smile as she destroyed my interview. Her casual admission that she'd enhanced her resume. The way she deliberately sabotaged the most important opportunity of my life just to prove she was the successful sister. I'm ready, I said. What do you need me to do? Over the next 2 hours, I compiled everything Emma had told me about her job at Blackstone, cross-referencing it with her social media posts and LinkedIn updates. The picture that emerged was even worse than I'd initially thought. According to her Instagram stories from last week, Emma had attended something called a competitive intelligence briefing, where she presented insights on Morrison and Associates client acquisition strategies. The photo showed her standing in front of a PowerPoint slide that included the Riverside Community Center logo, and 3 other Morrison clients I'd mentioned during various family dinners over the past month. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Ms. Morrison along with a detailed timeline. Her response came back within minutes. Sarah, this is incredibly helpful. Can you meet me at our office tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I'd like you to speak with our legal team. Legal team. The reality of what I was doing finally hit me. I wasn't just exposing Emma's lies, I was potentially destroying her career and opening her up to serious legal consequences. For a moment, I felt a familiar stab of guilt, the same feeling I'd had countless times when Emma's schemes backfired and I'd ended up covering for her. But then I remembered her satisfied smirk as she'd watched Ms. Morrison end our interview early. Emma hadn't just sabotaged me, she'd stolen confidential information and was actively working to harm the company I'd dreamed of joining. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Changed my mind about the dresser. Derek offered to help me move it tonight. Told him my little sister was too busy with her career to help family. He thinks it's sweet how I prioritize work-life balance. Face blowing a kiss. The casual cruelty of it made my stomach turn. She was actually bragging about manipulating her boss, the same boss who'd rejected me without a second thought. I screenshotted the text and added it to my growing evidence file. At 8:47 p.m., my phone rang. Mom. Hi, sweetheart. I've been dying to hear about your interview. How did it go? I stared at the ceiling of my apartment, trying to figure out how to explain that her eldest daughter was a corporate spy and I was about to turn her into lawyers. It was complicated, Mom. I'll fill you in later. Oh no, what happened? You sound upset. Emma showed up in the middle of the interview demanding I help her move furniture. She wouldn't leave, and it completely derailed everything. There was a long pause. Emma did what? Sarah, please tell me you're exaggerating. I wish I was. She literally introduced herself to the CEO and told her I was scattered and bad with deadlines. The woman ended the call early. Oh honey, I'm so sorry. Let me call Emma right now, Anne. No, Mom, please don't. The last thing I needed was Emma knowing I'd talked to anyone about what happened. I'm handling it. After I hung up, I found myself scrolling through Emma's social media again, looking for more evidence. Her Facebook check-ins showed she'd been at Blackstone's office every day since starting, often posting photos of their sleek conference rooms with captions like, another productive strategy session, and love my team. But it was her LinkedIn activity that really caught my attention. She'd been aggressively connecting with people at Morrison & Associates client companies, sending messages that introduced herself as a marketing professional with extensive community outreach experience. 3 people had already endorsed her for skills like community engagement and strategic planning, skills she'd claimed to have learned at Riverside Community Center. I was building a case against my own sister, documenting every lie she'd told and every piece of information she'd stolen from me. Part of me felt sick about it, but a bigger part of me was angry in a way I'd never been before. Emma had always gotten away with everything. In high school, when she cheated on her SATs, I'd stayed quiet. In college, when she plagiarized her senior thesis, I'd helped her rewrite it. Every time, I told myself I was being a good sister, protecting family. But this time, Emma hadn't just hurt me, she'd hurt Ms. Morrison, a woman who'd been nothing but professional and kind. She was potentially damaging Morrison & Associates' business relationships and definitely committing fraud at Blackstone. Tomorrow, I was going to stop protecting Emma and start protecting everyone else she was lying to. The next morning, I stood outside Morrison & Associates' gleaming downtown office building at 9:45 a.m., clutching a manila folder containing every piece of evidence I'd compiled against Emma. My hands were shaking, whether from nerves or the 3 cups of coffee I'd downed, I couldn't tell. The lobby was everything I'd imagined, marble floors, modern art installations, and a reception desk that probably cost more than my monthly rent. This was supposed to be my workplace, my new beginning. Instead, I was here to expose my sister's corporate espionage. Sarah Martinez. A woman in a sharp gray suit approached me. I'm Rebecca Chen, Morrison & Associates General Counsel. Thank you for coming in. Chen. The name made my stomach clench. Are you related to Derek Chen at Blackstone? My younger brother. Her expression darkened. Which makes this situation particularly complicated. Shall we head upstairs? The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt eternal. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see Ms. Morrison setting up a laptop while 2 other people in suits arranged documents on the table. This was really happening. Sarah, good morning. Ms. Morrison's smile was warm but strained. I want you to meet Tom Hendricks from our corporate security team, and you've already met Rebecca. Before we begin, I need to ask, has your sister contacted you since yesterday? Just a text last night. I pulled out my phone and showed them Emma's message about Derek helping her move furniture. She mentioned her boss by name, which seemed odd. Rebecca's jaw tightened. It's not odd, it's calculated. Derek told me this morning that Emma has been positioning herself as having insider knowledge about Morrison & Associates. She claimed her sister works in marketing and feeds her competitive intelligence. The room went silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. What? I don't work in marketing. I don't work anywhere. I've been unemployed for 4 months. We know that, Ms. Morrison said gently. But according to Derek, Emma told Blackstone's senior staff that her sister is a junior marketing coordinator at Morrison & Associates who shares client information with her during family dinners. I sank into my chair, realization washing over me like ice water. She's been using my name. When I told her about your clients at Mom's birthday dinner, she wasn't just gathering information for herself, she was building a cover story. Tom leaned forward, his expression grim. Sarah, we pulled Emma's email metadata from Blackstone's servers this morning. She sent 17 separate messages to various staff members over the past week, each containing detailed information about Morrison & Associates client strategies, upcoming bids, and internal processes. Information that could only have come from someone with legitimate access. Or someone whose sister talks too much at family dinners, I whispered. Rebecca slid a printed email across the table. This one was sent yesterday at 1:30 p.m., 30 minutes before your scheduled interview. Emma forwarded Derek a summary of Morrison & Associates' presentation strategy for the Riverside Community Center contract, claiming she'd gotten it from her inside source that morning. I read the email with growing horror. Every detail was accurate, because I'd spent hours researching Morrison and Associates' previous community outreach campaigns and had excitedly shared my findings with the family. Emma had been taking notes, not showing interest in my career. She sabotaged my interview to protect her lie, I said, the pieces finally clicking. If I'd gotten the job at Morrison and Associates, Derek would have eventually realized Emma didn't actually have a sister working here. But if I failed the interview, she could keep claiming you work here while knowing you'd never actually show up to contradict her story, Ms. Morrison finished. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Emma. I looked at the legal team, and Rebecca nodded. Answer it. Put it on speaker. Hey Sarah. Emma's voice was sickeningly cheerful. Guess what? Derek was so impressed with my market insights that he's promoting me to senior marketing analyst. Apparently, I have exceptional competitive intelligence capabilities. The new salary is $89,000. I closed my eyes, feeling sick. Emma, where are you getting this competitive intelligence? Oh, just my natural talent for reading market trends. Plus having connections in the industry doesn't hurt. She giggled. Derek specifically mentioned how valuable it is to have sources at competing firms. He's even talking about giving me my own research team. The three lawyers around the table were taking furious notes. I forced myself to keep talking. What kind of sources, Emma? Well, I may have mentioned that my brilliant little sister works at Morrison and Associates. Derek was so excited to hear we have inside access to their client strategies. I told him you're always sharing confidential information at family dinners because you're just so proud of your work there. Rebecca held up a sign that read, keep her talking. Emma, I said carefully, what exactly did you tell Derek about my job? Just that you're a junior marketing coordinator who works on client acquisition. Nothing too specific. Although I may have shared some of those campaign details you mentioned at Mom's party. Derek said it showed real initiative on my part to gather competitive intelligence through family connections. Tom was already typing on his laptop, probably documenting everything. Ms. Morrison looked pale. Emma, I need to tell you something. Actually, I have to run. Derek's taking me to lunch with the senior partners to discuss my new role. Apparently, they want to expand my competitive intelligence responsibilities. Who knows? Maybe I'll end up running my own department. The line went dead. The conference room was silent except for the sound of Tom typing. Finally, Rebecca spoke. Well, that was comprehensive. Sarah, your sister just confessed to corporate espionage, fraud, and conspiracy to obtain trade secrets. On a recorded line, in front of 3 witnesses. I stared at my phone, Emma's cheerful voice still echoing in my ears. What happens now? Ms. Morrison's expression was grim. Now we call the police. The words, call the police, hung in the air like a death sentence. My sister, my infuriating, selfish, but still my sister Emma, was about to be arrested for corporate espionage because I'd handed over evidence against her. Wait, I said, my voice cracking. Before you do that, can we try one more thing? Let me call Derek Chin directly. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. Sarah, your sister just confessed to multiple felonies. This isn't something we can handle with a phone call. I know, but... I struggled to find the words. What if we could get Emma to confess everything to Derek herself? If he hears directly from her that she's been lying about her qualifications and using me to steal information, wouldn't that be better evidence than us just telling him? Tom looked up from his laptop. You want to set up a sting operation against your own sister? The way he said it made my stomach clench, but I nodded. Emma's arrogant. She thinks she's untouchable right now. If I called her and said I was worried about her using my name at Blackstone, she'd probably brag about how clever she's been. Ms. Morrison exchanged a look with Rebecca. What exactly are you proposing? I pulled out my phone, my hand surprisingly steady despite the chaos in my head. I call Emma back and tell her I'm concerned about her mentioning me to Derek. I act worried about getting in trouble with my employer for sharing confidential information. She'll either panic and confess everything, or she'll double down and give us even more evidence. That's actually not a bad idea, Rebecca admitted. If we can get her to admit on record that she fabricated her entire resume and lied about having an inside source, it strengthens our case significantly. And it gives Derek Chin concrete proof of what kind of employee he just promoted, Ms. Morrison added grimly. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a conference room with my phone on speaker again, while Tom recorded everything through the room's audio system. My palms were sweating as I dialed Emma's number. Sarah. Twice in one day, this is a record. Emma's voice was even more buoyant than before. You'll never guess what just happened at lunch. The senior partners want me to lead a presentation next week about Morrison and Associates client vulnerabilities. Derek thinks I could be running the competitive intelligence department within 6 months. Emma, that's what I'm calling about. I forced worry into my voice. I'm getting nervous about you telling people I work at Morrison and Associates. What if my boss finds out I've been sharing client information? I could lose my job. There was a pause. Oh, Sarah, don't be such a worrier. It's not like Derek's going to call Morrison and Associates and verify that you work there. Besides, the information you gave me was just casual family conversation, right? But Emma, some of those details about the Riverside contract were really specific. If Morrison and Associates loses that bid because Blackstone knew their strategy. Relax. I didn't tell Derek everything you said. Just enough to make myself look good. Emma's voice took on that familiar condescending tone. Look, little sister, this is how the business world works. Everyone uses their connections to get ahead. You should be proud that your research helped me secure this promotion. Rebecca was frantically scribbling notes. I pressed on. My research? Emma, I thought you said you had marketing experience with all those local businesses on your LinkedIn. Emma laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. Oh please, you don't actually believe that stuff, do you? Sarah, I've been managing retail workers at HomeGoods for 3 years. The closest I've come to marketing is arranging seasonal displays. So the Riverside Community Center experience. Completely made up. Although I have to say, using Mom's church fundraiser as inspiration was genius. Derek was so impressed with my community engagement metrics that he didn't even call to verify my employment there. Tom was typing furiously, capturing every word. Ms. Morrison's face had gone from pale to furious. Emma, I said slowly, what exactly did you tell Derek about how you get information from Morrison and Associates? Just that my baby sister is a junior coordinator there who shares client gossip during family dinners. Derek loves the idea of having a human intelligence asset embedded in a competition. He's already talking about giving me a bonus for the quality of intel I've provided. The conference room was dead silent except for the sound of keyboards clicking. Emma had just confessed to everything, the resume fraud, the corporate espionage, even her plan to continue using my fabricated position for career advancement. You know what, Emma? I think Derek should hear this directly from you. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. When Emma finally spoke, her voice had lost all its cheerful confidence. What do you mean, Derek should hear this directly from me? I looked at Ms. Morrison, who nodded encouragingly. I mean, Emma, if you're going to keep using my name to advance your career at Blackstone, maybe Derek should know the truth about where you're really getting this information. Sarah, you're scaring me. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I don't actually work at Morrison and Associates. The words felt surreal coming out of my mouth. Emma, I've been unemployed for 4 months. Yesterday's interview, the one you destroyed, was my first real opportunity since graduation. Another long pause. When Emma spoke again, her voice was shaky. What do you mean you don't work there? You told me all about the Riverside contract, the client strategies. I told you about my research for the interview. I spent weeks studying Morrison and Associates' previous campaigns because I was desperate to impress them. I shared that information with family because I was excited and nervous, not because I had inside access to confidential data. But I told Derek. Emma's voice was getting smaller. Oh God, Sarah, I told him you were my inside source. I built my entire promotion around having a sister who works at Morrison and Associates. Tom held up a sign, ask about the resume. Emma, what about all those qualifications on your LinkedIn? The Riverside Community Center job, the freelance consulting, the marketing degree? Those were just enhancements. Everyone exaggerates on their resume a little. But her voice lacked conviction now. A little. Emma, you claim to have a completely different degree and 3 years of marketing experience you don't have. That's not enhancement, that's fraud. Don't be so dramatic, Sarah. It's not like anyone was going to check. She stopped abruptly, and I could practically hear the gears turning in her head. Wait. Why are you asking me all this? You sound different. Ms. Morrison gestured for me to keep going, but I could tell Emma was getting suspicious. Her survival instincts had always been sharp when her lies started unraveling. I'm asking because I'm worried about both of us, Emma. If Derek finds out you've been lying about having an inside source. Sarah. Emma's voice had gone cold. Where are you right now? My heart rate spiked. I'm at home, why? No, you're not. I can hear office sounds in the background. Air conditioning, keyboards typing. Each word was getting more clipped. Sarah, where the hell are you? I looked desperately at Rebecca, who was shaking her head frantically. But it was too late. Emma had always been able to read me, even over the phone. You're at Morrison and Associates, aren't you? Emma's voice was rising now. Oh my God, Sarah, what did you do? What did you tell them? Emma, calm down. Calm down. You recorded our conversation. You're sitting in a room full of lawyers right now, aren't you? Sarah, how could you do this to me? The line went dead. In the sudden silence, I could hear my own heart pounding. Well, Tom said dryly, I think she figured it out. Ms. Morrison was already reaching for her desk phone. Rebecca, how fast can we get this recording to Derek Chin? If Emma's panicking, she might try to disappear before we can expose her lies. I'm calling him now, Rebecca said, her own phone already at her ear. Derek? It's Rebecca Chin. We need to talk about Emma Sullivan immediately. My hands were shaking as I stared at my silent phone. Emma knew. She knew I'd betrayed her, and she was probably already planning her next move. The question was, would she run, or would she try to destroy me first? The silence in the conference room was broken by Rebecca's voice on speakerphone. Derek, I need you to listen very carefully. Emma Sullivan has been defrauding Blackstone marketing since day one. Rebecca, what are you talking about? Derek's voice sounded confused and irritated. Emma just got promoted. She's been providing exceptional competitive intelligence about Morrison and Associates. That intelligence came from lies and corporate espionage, Rebecca said bluntly. Her sister Sarah is here with us now, and we have recorded proof that Emma fabricated her entire resume and has been stealing confidential information. That's impossible. Emma's sister works at Morrison and Associates. She's been our inside source for. I'm Sarah Martinez, I interrupted, leaning toward the phone. And I don't work at Morrison and Associates. I've been unemployed for 4 months. Emma destroyed my interview with them yesterday, then used information I shared during family dinners to pretend she had insider access to your competitor. The silence stretched so long I wondered if Derek had hung up. Finally, play me the recording. For the next 10 minutes, we listened to Emma's cheerful confessions echoing through the conference room speakers. With each revelation, I watched Derek's career judgment crumble in real time through his increasingly sharp intakes of breath. Jesus Christ, Derek muttered when Emma's voice admitted to fabricating her Riverside Community Center experience. She presented those metrics to our board of directors yesterday. I vouched for her credibility. It gets worse, Tom said, pulling up Emma's LinkedIn profile on the room's large monitor. According to this, she has a Bachelor of Science in Marketing from State University. We checked, she actually has a communications degree with a 2.7 GPA. Derek, Rebecca's voice was gentle but firm, how much confidential Blackstone information has Emma had access to since starting? Another pause. She's been in senior strategy meetings all week. She has access to our client files, our bidding strategies for the next quarter, His voice trailed off. Oh God, if she's been feeding this back to Morrison and Associates. She hasn't, Ms. Morrison said quickly. We had no idea Emma existed until yesterday. But Derek, Emma isn't just a fraud, she's a liability. If she's been lying about everything else, what makes you think she's loyal to Blackstone? My phone buzzed with an incoming text. Emma, Sarah, we need to talk. Now. Don't make this worse than it already is, I showed the message to Rebecca, who nodded. Text her back. Tell her you're willing to meet. Are you insane? I stared at her. Emma's probably planning to murder me in a parking garage somewhere. She's planning damage control, Tom corrected. Emma's entire career just imploded, and you're the only person who can corroborate her version of events. She needs you. Derek's voice crackled through the speaker. Rebecca, I need to ask, how long have you known about this? We started investigating yesterday after Sarah's disrupted interview. But Derek, we only have Emma's confessions from the past hour. Legally, we need more evidence before we can pursue criminal charges. What kind of evidence? I asked. Ms. Morrison pulled up her laptop. Email metadata showing Emma sent confidential information to Blackstone. False statements on her employment application. Any documentation of her claiming to have insider sources. I can get you that, Derek said grimly. Emma sent me 43 emails over the past week, each one claiming insider knowledge. She also submitted a formal competitive analysis report that she specifically attributed to her sister's access to Morrison and Associates' internal documents. My stomach dropped. She put that in writing. It's worse than that, Derek continued. I forwarded Emma's intelligence to our CEO, Marcus Webb. He's been bragging to potential clients about Blackstone's superior market intelligence capabilities. If this gets out. Marcus Webb. I remembered Emma mentioning that name. Emma said Marcus was supposed to help her move furniture yesterday but bailed. She's been lying to him too, hasn't she? Tom was already pulling up Blackstone's corporate directory. Marcus Webb, CEO and founder. If he's been using Emma's fabricated intelligence in client meetings, then Blackstone Marketing could face fraud charges alongside Emma, Rebecca finished. Derek, you need to get ahead of this. How quickly can you compile everything Emma submitted as evidence of her insider access? I'm already pulling files. Rebecca, I'll have everything to you within the hour, but I need to know, is Morrison and Associates planning to press charges? Ms. Morrison looked at me, then at her legal team. That depends on several factors. Sarah, has Emma attempted to contact you since our recorded conversation? I held up my phone, showing 2 more texts from Emma, pick up your phone. I know you're reading these, and, Sarah, I can fix this, but I need you to stop talking to lawyers right now. She's getting desperate, Tom observed. That's when people make their biggest mistakes. Rebecca leaned forward. Sarah, I need to ask you something important. Are you prepared to testify against Emma if this goes to court? Because once we hand this evidence to the district attorney, there's no going back. I stared at my phone as another message appeared, please, Sarah. I'm your sister. Don't let them destroy my life over a stupid mistake, A stupid mistake. Even now, Emma couldn't admit what she'd really done. It wasn't a mistake, it was a calculated scheme to build her career on lies while sabotaging mine. Yes, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'll testify. But first, I want to meet with Emma face to face. I want to give her one chance to come clean and cooperate with the investigation. Absolutely not, Rebecca said immediately. Sarah, if Emma realizes how much evidence we have, she could flee or try to destroy documentation at Blackstone. Derek's voice interrupted. Actually, that might work in our favor. If Emma thinks she can manipulate Sarah into staying quiet, she might incriminate herself further. We could wire Sarah for the meeting. The idea of wearing a wire to meet my sister felt surreal, like something from a crime drama. But Emma had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Set it up, I said. Let's see just how far Emma's willing to go to save herself. 2 hours later, I sat in my car outside the Starbucks where Emma had demanded we meet, a tiny recording device taped under my shirt collar. Through my earpiece, I could hear Tom's voice from the surveillance van parked across the street. Remember, Sarah, we need her to admit 3 things, the resume fraud, the corporate espionage, and that she deliberately sabotaged your interview. Don't push too hard or she'll get suspicious. Emma was already inside, hunched over a corner table with her laptop open and papers scattered everywhere. Even from outside, I could see the panic in her body language, shoulders hunched, fingers flying across the keyboard, that manic energy she got when her lies started unraveling. She looked up as I entered, and I was shocked by how haggard she appeared. Her usually perfect blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, she had no makeup on, and her eyes were red-rimmed like she'd been crying. Sarah, thank God. She stood up so fast she knocked over her coffee cup. I've been trying to figure out how to fix this mess. Look, I know you're angry about yesterday, but we can work this out. I slid into the seat across from her, hyper-aware of the recording device against my chest. Fix what mess, Emma? Your entire career is built on lies. It's not that simple. She was shuffling through printed emails, her hands shaking slightly. Derek's been asking questions all afternoon. He wants me to provide documentation from my previous marketing experience, references from Riverside Community Center, proof of my degree. Sarah, I need you to back up my story. The audacity took my breath away. You want me to lie for you? After what you did to my interview? What I did was stupid, okay? I was panicking because Derek had been pushing me for more specific intelligence, and I knew I was running out of material. Emma leaned forward desperately. But Sarah, if you just tell Derek that you work at Morrison and Associates, just for a few weeks until I can find a way out of this, I promise I'll make it up to you. Tom's voice crackled in my earpiece. She's trying to drag you into the fraud. Keep pushing. Emma, I can't tell Derek I work somewhere I don't. That would make me an accessory to your scheme. It's not a scheme. Her voice was getting louder, drawing stares from other customers. Look, maybe I embellished my resume a little, and maybe I got carried away with the competitive intelligence stuff, but this is how business works. Everyone cuts corners. You didn't cut corners, you committed fraud. Your LinkedIn profile claims you have a completely different degree and 3 years of experience you never had. Emma's face crumpled. I was desperate, Sarah. Do you know how hard it is to get interviews with just a communications degree and retail experience? I sent out 200 applications and got 3 callbacks. 3. And they were all for assistant positions paying $35,000 a year. For a moment, I felt a stab of sympathy. I knew exactly how soul-crushing that job search was. I'd been living it for 4 months. So when Blackstone called me in for an interview, Emma continued, I thought it was a mistake. But Derek seemed so impressed with my resume that I just went with it. And then when they offered me $72,000, I couldn't turn it down. But Emma, you had to know you couldn't fake marketing expertise forever. She pulled up an email on her laptop and turned it toward me. That's why I needed the Morrison & Associates intelligence. Look at this message from Marcus Webb. I read the email, dated 3 days ago, Emma, your competitive analysis of Morrison & Associates has been invaluable. The board is so impressed with your strategic insights that we're fast-tracking you for the senior analyst position. Keep up the excellent work gathering market intelligence, Don't you see? Emma's voice was pleading now. I wasn't just lying to get hired, I was actually providing value. The information you shared helped Blackstone understand their competition better. The information I shared was stolen, Emma. I told you about Morrison & Associates clients during casual family conversations, not knowing you were using it for corporate espionage. Corporate espionage? She laughed bitterly. Sarah, you make it sound like I'm some kind of international spy. I'm just a desperate sister trying to build a career. Tom's voice in my earpiece, get her to admit she sabotaged the interview intentionally. I took a deep breath. Emma, yesterday when you came to my apartment during the interview, that wasn't really about moving furniture, was it? Her expression shifted, and for a moment I saw a flash of the calculating sister I'd grown up with. What do you mean? You knew exactly when my interview was scheduled. You came there specifically to disrupt it. I leaned forward. Why, Emma? Why would you sabotage the most important opportunity of my life? I didn't sabotage anything, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I genuinely needed help moving the dresser. At 2:15 p.m. on a Wednesday. When you knew I had an interview with Janet Morrison. I pulled out my phone and showed her our text exchange from last Sunday. Look, I specifically told you the interview was Tuesday at 2 p.m., but it was actually Wednesday. You wrote down the wrong day, Emma. You were planning this. She stared at the text messages, her face going pale. Sarah, you're being paranoid. Am I? Because if I'd gotten that job at Morrison & Associates, Derek would have eventually realized you didn't actually have a sister working there. But if I failed the interview and stayed unemployed, you could keep using my fake position indefinitely. The silence stretched between us, broken only by the hiss of the espresso machine and the murmur of other conversations. When Emma finally looked up, there were tears in her eyes. Sarah, you have to understand, I've never been the smart sister. You got the good grades, the scholarship, the degree everyone respects. I've been working retail for 3 years watching all my college friends build real careers while I folded sweaters for $15 an hour. Her voice cracked. When Blackstone offered me this opportunity, it felt like my one chance to prove I could be successful too. I couldn't let anything jeopardize that. Not even your dream job. In my earpiece, I heard Tom whisper, we got it. That's a confession. But looking at my sister's tear-stained face, I felt no satisfaction, only a hollow sadness for what our family was about to become. Emma wiped her eyes with a napkin, smearing what little mascara she had left. Sarah, I know what I did was wrong, but we can still fix this. I've been thinking, what if you actually applied for a job at Morrison & Associates? With your qualifications, you'd probably get hired, and then technically I wouldn't have been lying about having a sister there. The suggestion was so absurd I almost laughed. Emma, do you hear yourself? You want me to get hired at the company you've been stealing information from so you can retroactively justify your fraud? It's not fraud if it becomes true. She was getting that manic edge in her voice again, the same tone she'd had in high school when she'd convinced herself that cheating was okay as long as she eventually learned the material. Tom's voice crackled in my earpiece. Sarah, we need her to be more specific about the stolen information. Ask about the Riverside contract details. I leaned back in my chair, trying to look casual. Emma, when you told Derek about the Riverside Community Center bid, what exactly did you share? Her laptop was still open to her email exchange with Derek, and she scrolled through it nervously. Just basic stuff. You know, the presentation format Morrison & Associates typically uses, their pricing strategy, the timeline for implementation. Emma, I never told you about their pricing strategy. Where did you get those details? She froze, her finger hovering over the trackpad. You mentioned something about budget allocations at Mom's dinner. No, I didn't. I researched their previous community projects, but I never had access to actual pricing information. I felt my pulse quicken. Emma, where did you really get those details? I figured them out, she said quickly. Based on the other information you shared, I just extrapolated. Or you hacked into their system. The words came out before I could stop them, but as soon as I said it, I knew it was true. Oh my God, Emma, please tell me you didn't break into Morrison & Associates computers. Her face went white. It's not hacking if you use publicly available information. What publicly available information gives you access to confidential bid details? Emma's hands were shaking as she closed her laptop. Sarah, you need to stop asking these questions. We're supposed to be figuring out how to protect each other, not. Protect each other from what? Emma, what did you do? The silence stretched between us, and I could see her internal debate playing out across her face. Finally, she opened her laptop again and pulled up a website I didn't recognize. There's this freelance platform where people post competitive research jobs. Anonymous clients pay for specific information about companies. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I may have submitted a few requests about Morrison & Associates. Just to supplement what you'd already told me. I stared at the screen, my blood turning cold. You hired hackers. Emma, that's not just corporate espionage, that's computer fraud. That's federal crimes with actual prison time. I didn't hire hackers, she protested. I just posted requests for publicly available marketing data. If someone happened to find more detailed information than expected, that's not my fault. Tom's voice in my earpiece was sharp. This is bigger than we thought. She's been paying for stolen corporate data. Emma, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, how much money have you spent on these research requests? She scrolled through what looked like a payment history. About $3,200 over the past 2 weeks. But Sarah, the intelligence I got was worth way more than that. Derek said my competitive analysis was the most comprehensive he'd ever seen. $3,000. Emma, where did you get that kind of money? Blackstone gave me a signing bonus, she said defensively. $5,000 to start immediately. I just reinvested part of it into building my value as an employee. I felt sick. Emma had used her fraudulent signing bonus to buy stolen corporate data, then presented it to her boss as evidence of her own intelligence-gathering skills. The scope of her crimes was expanding by the minute. Emma, show me exactly what information you bought. She hesitated, then clicked through to a detailed invoice. As I read the list of research deliverables, my horror grew. Client contact lists, internal budget documents, strategic planning memos, even draft presentations for upcoming pitches, everything Morrison and Associates would need to stay competitive in their market. Emma, I whispered, you didn't just steal from Morrison and Associates. You helped someone else rob them blind. The coffee shop seemed to fade away as I stared at Emma's laptop screen, the list of stolen Morrison and Associates documents blurring together. Internal budget allocations for the next fiscal year. Confidential client retention strategies. Draft proposals for 3 major upcoming bids, including detailed pricing breakdowns. Emma, I said, my voice hollow, this isn't just corporate espionage anymore. You've been funding industrial sabotage. She slammed the laptop shut, panic flickering across her face. It's not sabotage. I never shared this information with anyone outside Blackstone. I just used it to make myself look valuable. You shared it with Derek, who shared it with Marcus Webb, who's been bragging to potential clients about Blackstone's superior market intelligence. I could hear Tom's voice crackling urgently in my earpiece, but I couldn't focus on his words. Emma, how many companies has Blackstone won bids against using this stolen data? I don't know. Maybe 3 or 4. She was wrapping her coffee cup in napkins, a nervous habit from childhood. Sarah, you're making this sound way worse than it is. Every company does competitive research. Not like this. I pulled up the freelance platform on my own phone, scrolling through the terms of service. Emma, look at this. Users acknowledge that requesting confidential corporate data may constitute violations of federal computer fraud statutes, punishable by up to 20 years imprisonment. 20 years, Emma. Her face crumpled. I didn't read the fine print. I just needed information that would make Derek think I was worth the salary they were paying me. Tom's voice in my earpiece was getting more urgent. Sarah, ask her about the other companies. If she's been doing this systematically, the FBI needs to know. Emma, have you posted research requests about other companies besides Morrison and Associates? She nodded miserably. Hartley and Sons, Strategic Marketing Group, and... She paused, looking embarrassed. Brand Forward Associates. I recognized all 3 names. They were Morrison and Associates' main competitors in the regional market. Oh my God, Emma. You've been systematically stealing from every major marketing firm in the city. I was building a comprehensive competitive analysis. Derek said it showed real initiative. She was crying again, but this time it looked more like self-pity than genuine remorse. Sarah, I need you to help me figure out how to make this go away. Maybe if I delete the files and stop the research requests. It's too late for that. I leaned forward, keeping my voice gentle despite the fury building in my chest. Emma, Derek Chin already forwarded your intelligence to Marcus Webb, who's been using it in client meetings. Even if you deleted everything right now, the damage is done. She wiped her nose with a shredded napkin. So what are you saying? That I should just give up and let them destroy my career? I'm saying you should come clean before this gets worse. Emma, right now you're looking at fraud and corporate espionage charges. But if the FBI gets involved and finds out you've been funding a systematic hacking operation against multiple companies. Stop saying hacking, she hissed, loud enough that the barista looked over at us. I posted research requests on a freelance platform. That's completely different. I showed her my phone screen again, pointing to a specific clause. Emma, look at this disclaimer. Platform is not responsible for methods used to obtain requested information. Do you know what that means? It means they know their users are paying for stolen data, and they're covering their legal liability. Emma stared at the text, her face going pale. So the people I hired were probably criminals, yes. And now you're an accessory to whatever methods they used to get that information. I closed my phone and looked directly at her. Emma, I need you to tell me everything. Every company you researched, every document you received, every conversation you had with Derek about your sources. She was quiet for so long I wondered if she'd heard me. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. Sarah, there's something else. Something I didn't tell you about the interview yesterday. My blood chilled. What about it? Emma opened her laptop again, pulling up an email dated yesterday at 1:47 p.m., 13 minutes before my interview was supposed to start. I may have sent Derek a message saying I was about to get updated intelligence from my Morrison and Associates source. I told him to expect a detailed briefing about their latest client strategies by end of day. I stared at the timestamp, pieces clicking together with horrible clarity. You promised Derek new intelligence 13 minutes before my interview. Emma, you didn't just sabotage me to protect your lie, you sabotaged me to create new material for another lie. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too warm. Emma had orchestrated my failure not just to cover her tracks, but to generate fresh content for her next performance as Blackstone's star intelligence asset. How long were you planning to keep this up? I asked quietly. Emma's answer made my stomach drop. Derek mentioned something about a long-term contract. Maybe 2 or 3 years. The words 2 or 3 years hit me like a physical blow. Emma hadn't just stolen my identity for a quick career boost, she'd been planning to use me as her permanent cover story for years of corporate espionage. Emma, I said, my voice deadly calm, what exactly did you tell Derek about this long-term contract? She fidgeted with her laptop, avoiding my eyes. He mentioned that Blackstone is expanding their competitive intelligence division. They want someone to manage ongoing surveillance of key competitors, and Derek thinks I'd be perfect for the role. Surveillance. I repeated the word like it tasted bad. Emma, do you understand what you're describing? You're talking about becoming a professional corporate spy. It's not that dramatic, Sarah. It's just market research with better pay. She pulled up another email, this one from Marcus Webb himself. Look, $95,000 base salary plus performance bonuses based on the value of intelligence gathered. Marcus wrote that my innovative approach to competitive analysis could revolutionize how Blackstone positions itself in the market. I scanned the email, my horror growing with each line. Marcus Webb was praising Emma's deep industry connections and her ability to access confidential strategic documents from competing firms. He'd scheduled a meeting for Friday to discuss expanding her role to include comprehensive intelligence gathering across all major regional competitors. Emma, Marcus Webb thinks you're running some kind of spy network. What happens on Friday when he asks you to demonstrate these mysterious industry connections? Her confidence flickered. I was hoping by then I could convince you to actually apply at Morrison & Associates. Or maybe I could find another source. Another source. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Oh my God, Emma. You've been researching other marketing professionals, haven't you? Looking for more people you could manipulate into giving you information. She pulled up her browser history, and I saw searches for Morrison Associates employees LinkedIn, Strategic Marketing Group staff directory, and Brand Forward team bios. Emma hadn't just been planning to use me, she'd been building a target list. Emma, show me your contact list. How many people have you reached out to? Reluctantly, she opened her email sent folder. Over the past week, she'd sent connection requests to 17 different marketing professionals across 4 companies, each message carefully crafted to sound like innocent networking. Asterisk hi Jennifer. I'm Emma Sullivan, a new marketing analyst at Blackstone. I'd love to connect with fellow industry professionals and perhaps grab coffee to discuss market trends, asterisk. Asterisk hello Michael, I'm reaching out to introduce myself as Blackstone's newest team member. I'm always eager to learn from experienced marketers like yourself, asterisk. Tom's voice crackled urgently in my earpiece. Sarah, this is a systematic recruitment operation. She's building a network of unwitting informants. Emma, I said, struggling to keep my voice level, how many of these people responded to you? She scrolled through her inbox. About half. I have coffee meetings scheduled with 3 of them next week. She looked up hopefully. Sarah, this could actually work out perfectly. If I can develop multiple industry contacts, I won't need to rely so heavily on your fictional position at Morrison & Associates. The casual way she said, your fictional position, made my skin crawl. Emma had compartmentalized her lies so completely that she could discuss my fake job like it was a minor inconvenience rather than the foundation of her entire criminal scheme. Emma, those people you're meeting with, you're planning to pump them for confidential information about their employers, aren't you? I prefer to think of it as building mutually beneficial professional relationships. She closed her laptop with a satisfied smile. Sarah, you're looking at this all wrong. I'm not destroying anyone's career, I'm creating opportunities for industry networking while advancing my own position. It's win-win. Win-win. I stared at her in disbelief. Emma, you've committed multiple felonies, stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of corporate data, and you're planning to expand into systematic industrial espionage. How is any of that win-win? Her smile faded. Because nobody gets hurt if everyone just plays along. Sarah, all I need from you is to keep quiet about the Morrison & Associates thing for a few more weeks while I establish these other connections. Then I can gradually phase out the sister story and rely on my new network instead. Tom's voice in my earpiece was sharp. She's trying to recruit you as a permanent accomplice. Don't let her think you're considering it. Emma, I said carefully, what makes you think any of this will stay secret? Derek's already asking questions about documentation. Marcus Webb wants to meet about expanding your role. How long before someone demands proof of your qualifications? That's why I need those coffee meetings to go well, she said. If I can establish myself as genuinely connected in the industry, maybe the fake resume stuff won't matter anymore. I realized Emma truly believed she could lie her way into legitimacy, that enough stolen intelligence and fraudulent networking could somehow retroactively justify her crimes. She'd constructed an entire fantasy where her espionage operation was just an unconventional path to career success. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, asterisk Ms. Martinez, this is Agent Patricia Walsh, FBI Corporate Crime Division. We need to speak with you immediately about Emma Sullivan. Please call 555-0147 asterisk. The blood drained from my face as I read the message. Across the table, Emma was still talking about her networking strategy, completely unaware that federal agents were already investigating her crimes. The FBI had found us. I stared at the FBI text message, my hands trembling as Emma continued rambling about her networking strategy. Agent Patricia Walsh. Corporate Crime Division. This was real, federal agents were actively investigating my sister's crimes. Emma, I interrupted, my voice barely steady. We need to talk about what happens next. She looked up from her laptop, irritation flashing across her face. Sarah, I just explained the plan. A few more weeks of. The FBI is investigating you. I turned my phone toward her, showing Agent Walsh's message. Emma, this isn't about fake resumes anymore. This is about federal crimes. Her face went completely white as she read the text. FBI. Sarah, what did you tell them? What did you do? I told them the truth, I said, pulling out my earpiece and setting it on the table between us. Everything we just discussed was recorded, Emma. The stolen data, the systematic espionage, your plans to recruit other industry professionals, all of it. Emma stared at the tiny recording device like it was a snake. You wore a wire. To meet your own sister. My sister who destroyed my career, stole corporate secrets, and was planning to frame me as an accomplice in federal crimes. I stood up, my legs shaky but my voice growing stronger. Emma, you crossed every line there is to cross. Across the coffee shop, I saw Tom and Rebecca entering through the front door, with two people I didn't recognize, a woman in a dark suit who could only be Agent Walsh, and a man with a badge clipped to his belt. Emma followed my gaze and let out a strangled sob. Sarah, please. I'm your sister. We can figure this out together. No, Emma. We can't. I looked down at her tear-streaked face, feeling a complicated mixture of love, pity, and relief. For 24 years, I've been cleaning up your messes and making excuses for your lies. But this time, you didn't just hurt me, you hurt innocent people and companies who trusted their employees to act with integrity. Agent Walsh approached our table, her badge visible. Emma Sullivan. I'm Agent Patricia Walsh, FBI Corporate Crime Division. You need to come with us. Emma's laptop was still open, displaying her payment history to the freelance hacking platform, $3,200 in federal crimes documented in black and white. As Agent Walsh's partner began reading Emma her rights, I caught sight of Derek Chin entering the coffee shop, his face grim. Ms. Martinez, Derek said, approaching our table. I owe you an apology. And a job interview. I blinked in surprise. I'm sorry. Morrison & Associates isn't the only company that's been impressed by your integrity today, Derek said. When someone is willing to expose corporate espionage, even when it involves family, that tells me everything I need to know about their character. Blackstone Marketing would like to offer you Emma's former position, at $78,000 annually, pending the resolution of this investigation. Emma's head snapped up from where Agent Walsh was cuffing her hands. You're giving her my job. Your job was built on fraud and stolen data, Derek said flatly. Sarah's job will be built on actual qualifications and honest work. As the agents led Emma toward the door, she looked back at me one last time. Sarah, I hope you're happy. You destroyed your own sister for a job. No, Emma, I called after her. You destroyed yourself. I just finally stopped helping you do it. The coffee shop fell silent as the door closed behind them. Derek handed me his business card with a handwritten note, interview Monday, 10 a.m. No interruptions this time. I sank back into my chair, emotionally drained but oddly at peace. My phone buzzed with a text from Ms. Morrison, Sarah, thank you for your courage today. The position at Morrison & Associates is still yours if you want it. $62,000, starting whenever you're ready, 2 job offers in one day, after 4 months of unemployment. The irony wasn't lost on me, Emma's crimes had inadvertently opened doors I never could have accessed otherwise. As I walked to my car, I realized Emma had been wrong about one thing. This wasn't about me destroying her for a job. This was about finally choosing integrity over family loyalty, truth over comfortable lies. For the first time in my adult life, I was free from Emma's schemes. And despite everything, that felt like the biggest victory of all.